Music technology as an A-level subject first arrived at Ysgol Government Emlyn in 2007. Initially only home to 2 students in each year group, the music tech teaching room was a modest space with just 2 computer workstations. By 2009, however, the number of students opting to study the subject had increased radically to 11. Resources were stretched to breaking point as computer availability became critical.
When I started doing tech, there were 5 people doing it in my year, which was still more people than we had computers for, and because of the way that the tech course works, to make the most out of lesson time, we need as many computers as there are people, really. So quite often, 2 of us would have to go next door and work on the computers in the music room, which was really hard because if there were lessons going on in the music room or something like that, it was really hard to concentrate. Then when I moved to year 13 and all the new year 12s came up and started doing tech, there were loads of them, and they had to be split into 2 different groups. And even when they were split into 2 groups, there were still more of them than computers. So it's the same problem again. So we had to figure out how we were going to get another computer just to make lesson time more productive. Which, to get a new computer with the tower, the keyboards, sound cards, software, is near enough £900. So I had to get thinking.
In January 2010, music technology tutor Miss Branwen had an idea.
Well, it became very obvious that we needed to raise some money, probably to buy at least 1 computer workstation with, and the computer workstations we use in music tech are around £900 for even the most basic one. So that was quite a challenge to figure out a way of raising that kind of money. The obvious idea would have been a concert, which we do quite regularly in school, do concerts and productions, but I was doubtful that they would raise enough to buy a whole workstation. Also, I really wanted to utilise the music tech department, and our speciality is recording, so I thought it would be a great idea if we could somehow release some kind of recording. Trying to get people to buy CDs is very difficult at the best of times, even when it's for a good cause. So by incorporating a challenge, something that people could sponsor us for at the same time as getting a free CD seemed to be a pretty good idea. Of course, I wanted to give the whole project some kind of theme, and so the idea of voice came into my head. The fact that we needed to find a voice to be able to, get across to people what we were trying to do, and how good the department was. So voice became the concept, and the sponsored CD became the challenge.
And so the concept of voice was born. During the next 6 months, Branwen and her students spent many lunchtimes and evenings planning the 24-hour session and writing the all-important music they would be recording. Demo recordings were made and ensemble rehearsals were fitted in between other school commitments. Then came the sponsors.
We each got given a sponsor sheet with about 20 boxes for names and addresses and things. And me and Greg particularly turned it into a bit of a competition to see who could get the most and who could get the most money. And by the end of it, we both ended up extending our sponsor sheets by about 3 other sheets. And that was fun. And yeah, I think we kind of wandered around the school a lot and got all the teachers. And it turned into running up to see who could bag a teacher's fiver first. And yeah, it was good fun.
Well, I think in the very early days of the project, I had the idea of utilising the internet as a method of reaching people who could potentially sponsor us from a distance, friends and relatives not in the area that would still be interested in supporting our cause. I knew that many of the students taking part had already obtained lots of sponsors on a local level, but the internet thing really opened things up for us. I dedicated a page on my Gold Hill website and put some information about the project and the department and why we needed this money, and linked it to PayPal, and then people could donate whatever they wanted. We had lots of people donating £5, £10, even up to £50 somebody donated, which was really kind of them. So having that kind of broad reach that the internet gives you, and using tools like Facebook as a method of posting it and promoting it really helped and significantly increased our sponsorship.
At last, on Saturday the 10th of July 2010 at 10 o'clock in the morning, Branwen, Ollie, Rachel, Rupert, Amy, Sia, Felix, Greg, Jake, Erin, Meg, Chris and Steph arrived at school and the session began.
It doesn't seem like when you say 24 hours to record an album, it seems like, no, I can't imagine that's going to be very good because you've not had enough time, but because there's so many people there all together and everybody's really, it's a very productive atmosphere, so I think things get done very quickly.
I found it tiring, obviously, having to sing my bits in between people talking. Like, can you just be quiet for a second? Okay, thank you. So I didn't really get as nice quality, I suppose, as I might have done if I'd been in my own little room and stuff.
Hard work, but amazing. It was definitely an experience that, just hard to explain.
I found it fun. I had to obviously keep myself busy because otherwise I'd get tired. But yeah, I also got to help with the album cover, so I brought my camera in and allowed people just to take some pictures around, and then I incorporate them into Photoshop and do it that way.
I think we all worked quite well together. We did work with other people and recorded, and everyone had similar ideas and similar sense of humour, which helped on a couple of the tracks actually. So
it was a really good experience. It was quite a draining experience. We were all getting really tired, but yeah, we had a setup of one room that was mainly for recording in, and then another room that had a few computers in, and that's where kind of me and Greg and Ollie and Chris and Erin all were making our tracks, doing the ambient tracks were in there, and the other room was for recording vocals and instruments. And we did all of the instruments and the drums and stuff got done as early as possible, so that Rachel was free to do the artwork. And yeah, there was also the corridor for sleeping in, which I didn't sleep, but a few other people did. And Ollie lay on his back in the middle of the room for about 2 hours, I think, something like that.
The original voice CD was a huge success, both creatively and financially. Despite the potential disaster of a 24-hour recording session, not to mention the difficulties of persuading people to spend their money on a CD of songs they'd never heard before, the project raised enough money for a vitally important computer workstation and a much-needed condenser microphone for recording vocals. As the CDs were distributed in the aftermath, compliments began to fly in, praising the songwriting and quality of recording. Many sponsors noted the diversity of the album and yet how artfully the voice thread ran through the different tracks. Most important, the team felt a huge sense of accomplishment, having, against the odds, created a piece of work together that they could all be incredibly proud of. 6 months later, some of the members of the voice team decided to take the project to the next level, taking elements of the original songs and remixing them in different styles. Branwen and her students created a new album, aptly titled Revoice. The work was all done in their own time, with many of the students exploring new genres and methods of production to create an exciting series of fresh interpretations. Initially, the Revoice album was only available as a download via the internet, but now the collection is included in the Voice box set.
I was heavily involved with Revoice. I did 3 remixes in the end, 2 of which involving Rupert, so he stayed around for 2 or 3 or 4 days. We put really long hours in, got up really early in the morning and went to bed really late. It was just because we loved doing it so much. It was great fun. We even had Sia and Zach over on the 2nd or 3rd day. They were all kind of one very long day. So at some point in the middle we had Zach and Sia around, and Zach played some guitar, Sia did some backing vocals, and it was really good. In the end, my contribution ended up being 3 remixes. One of Enough Is Enough with Rupert and Zach and Sia, one of Summer's Voice with Rupert, and one by myself of High Language. And then at the end I mastered the compilation.
The Revoice project was another really good experience because it gave me a chance to steal someone else's vocal that I liked and do what I wanted with it. And all the tracks that came back, I was quite surprised at. No one really seemed to, everyone just rearranged the tracks rather than chopping up bits, but I decided that I really wanted to only use really specific parts of Meg's track. So I cut it up and messed it up a bit, and yeah, it wasn't meant to be an anger management remix, but it just sounded like it afterwards.
I found the idea of revoice really exciting. It was something that Ollie and I came up with at school. I think we'd been listening to the Voice album over the 6 months after the session, just thinking how great the songs were and how it would be really good to get something more from them. It also gave people a chance to work in a different way, in maybe a slightly less time pressure way. And we could use people that couldn't make the Voice project in the first place, such as Zach and Stacey, who both did amazing remixes. So yeah, it was just a way of expanding on the Voice idea really, and trying some new things out. And I think it worked really well.